and every country has its right to enforce its borders and to do something. Now, I would like to ask a lot of the people at this table, what measures of internal enforcement or border security enforcement do you support, if any?
Oh, I'll give you one example.
I think there shouldn't be undocumented immigrants. I think everybody should have papers. The problem is not immigration. The problem is a system that doesn't allow people to come legally to the United States.
Well, I would also,
that's where the problem resides. Not in the movement of workers looking for jobs, but in the permit for that people to look for jobs.
And,
come over, you know, we have jobs for you, come over. Oh, but we won't give you permission.
Okay. Jorge, what laws would you propose to enforce?
Well, here's a perfect example. No,
a labor law that allows workers to look for jobs. Are there jobs available? Then there's got to be visas available.
You're proposing a temporary work program.
No. Oh, no.
What
I'm not saying temporary.
I'm going to answer your question.
No slavery here. No slavery. No slavery here.
The answer to your question is an issue of enforcement on the companies or penalties for the companies who are bringing the workers in. They're not going to come if there's no demand. And so what bothers me about this policy is that we're going after them, and there's nothing in this legislation that's going after the corporations.
This bill also goes after employers who hire illegal aliens. They have to verify using the E-Verify system and keep those records as long as they're employed. It also goes after people that hire people on the street at a stop for day laborers. Right. So it's absolutely incorrect to just say that we're going after the illegals. We're also going after the employers who are wanting that labor.
You know, Ted, the larger issue too is that currently there is no path to citizenship.
Yes, there is.
For the 10 to 12,
yes, there is.
For the 10 to 12 million undocumented
no,
that are currently in the United States. And particularly, one of the things that I'm very passionate about is young people that were brought here by their parents, but they are still considered illegal. They have done, you know, most of them have done everything right their entire lives. I can't tell you the number of students that I've taught that have been in this situation. They're honor students. They are paying for their college education themselves, and they have no path to citizenship. One of my students, Jose, was one of our best honor students at the City Colleges of Chicago, graduated from Daly College, went on to the University of Illinois at Chicago, obtained an engineering degree, a master's in engineering, and he's working at Portillo's. He's done everything right in his life. And I honestly believe the United States Senate has got, and not just the Senate, the House has to join him on the DREAM Act. Senator Durbin's DREAM Act provides a path to citizenship for these young people if they've gone to college or serve in the military.
Do you support those kinds of measures?
No, I think what we should be talking about before we're talking about giving people amnesty is securing our borders. Because amnesty was given 25 years ago, and we still have the problem
under Ronald Reagan.
Yes. Okay. And I've gone against Republicans on the show many times.
Let me make a
excuse me,
point
Jorge.
excuse me.
The fact of the matter then is after that amnesty program, we are still dealing with this problem today. So that did not work. Spain has given 4 amnesties since 1985 to the year 2000. Every year they have more and more illegal immigrants coming into their country. The problem is not being solved by giving amnesty. So we can talk about all these sad stories, and some are very heartfelt stories about innocent people, if you want to call them that are here working hard to do the dream. But the point is that there is a pathway to citizenship in this country, and that's called legal immigration.
Since you brought this subject, I mean briefly, the subject of Spain, actually, the reason a lot of immigrants came to Spain since '95 is because the government of Spain actively encouraged them to come. And it was the same with the immigration starting here in the U.S. with the Bracero program and so forth. So oftentimes countries have encouraged immigrants to come. And when they don't want them, then they want to kick them out.
Okay. Let me touch the point of border security. Listen, if you are trying to stop drugs in the United States, a wall in the border and the National Guard in the border is not going to do anything. We have 2,000 miles of border with Mexico. And we have like 1,500 miles from the border to here, the city of Illinois. Why don't we stop everybody, you know, every 100 meters in those 1,500 miles from here to the border? It's not a border problem. You know, drug addiction, crime, whatever.
A lot of it is a demand issue.
I mean, you have 10 million miles within the United States. Look for the drugs there. Do you think they vanish in the border and then reappear in Daly Plaza? Come on.
Now let me say
it's
this.
Not a border
and
problem.
Honestly, you know, Arizona has had negative economic impact because of this. They've got, I believe they estimated something like $23 million in lost revenue from meetings being canceled. And the reason is not only this, because I want to slide over to this slightly to another conversation slightly, because the governor of Arizona a couple weeks after she did this, and we all know this, she basically decides that ethnic studies in the state are problematic as well, and they sign a law against Mexican American studies programs, et cetera. And so what I'm saying is that I said this smacks at things that you would see in a very racist society, because these things are coming together. It's very difficult for people to see this and say this is not unfair or this is not mean-spirited.
Ted, it's systemic of Arizona and their racial bias. I mean, this isn't their first instance. You can go back to 1987, and they repealed honoring Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. They only reinstated it when the NFL pulled the Super Bowl out of Arizona. So these economic sanctions worked in the past, and I think that's where it's coming from. In addition to eliminating the ethnic studies, they will also fire teachers with any sort of accent.
Accents, yes.
We know who that's aimed at. It's not aimed at a teacher from Great Britain with an accent or somebody with a southern drawl. So I mean, what we have in Arizona is systemic. Discrimination by gender, by race, and it's a rogue state.
Well, the question again gets back to whether a nation has its right to enforce its borders. As much as you guys want to talk about Arizona and racism,
The nation,
we're
yes,
talking
but that's
about
a federal-
Democrats.
but that's a
No,
federal
we're talking about Democrats
jurisdiction.
and Republicans
It's not a
of
state
all
jurisdiction.
races supporting this law. Recently, there was an investigative piece done at a local station in Atlanta that unveiled a document that the Border Patrol, I guess, has been having. I don't know if it was leaked or whatever. 1 out of 5 people coming across the Mexican border are coming from the Middle East, of countries like Sudan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran. Those are people that we should know are coming to this country. This is not just about Spanish-speaking Mexicans.
Why?
This
Because
is
they are
about-
refugees.
Because it incites more fear?
You're right.
No, these are
We
facts.
should know every Haitian that comes
These
to
are,
this country.
of course, we
Let's
should
say-
know every
we should know
person
every
that's coming to
Cuban
this
that comes to
country.
this
We
country.
should know everybody that's coming to this country.
The only proven terrorist.
Why shouldn't we know every single person? We're not talking about terrorists alone. We're talking about people that we should
came
know that come
illegally
in
to
this
the
country.
United States as a Cuban national, formerly hired by the CIA.
We are talking about
That's
all
the only
people
known
coming to
case
this
of
country.
a
As much as you want to make this a
terrorist crossing the
racist
border.
argument, it's not. This is about illegal immigration of all sorts of
That's a
countries coming to this
jurisdiction of the
country.
federal government
This
to
country
dictate
cannot-
immigration
there's-
laws.
But,
No
but
state
can a
government.
state,
go ahead.
can a state enact laws dealing with immigration, or
No.
does immigration fall purely within the realm of the federal government?
It is absurd that a state
You
has
would
to
have
pass a law
50. You
to
would
say
have
that it's
50
illegal to be
different.
illegal.
But wait a
You would
second,
have
let's-
50
but
different
let's-
immigration
wait a
laws.
second, but let's
say
answer that
Illinois
question.
gives an amnesty. Okay,
They can't.
within Illinois. Why not?
You know, and a not
Because
And Arizona has not done that
can't-
either.
Yeah, right.
And they can't
And a
supersede
not-
federal law.
And besides,
Yeah,
besides,
so
people
President
supporting,
Obama has
people
supported
supported
states'
Jim Crow
efforts.
laws. Also.
President Obama has supported state efforts to discourage, I guess, illegal immigration. So the feds promote that. They want the states to help them do the law. Now, they can't deport people, and they can't do any storm businesses for that. But they can enforce
Well,
somebody.
Joe Arpaio does it.
Okay.
Sheriff
Including
Joe.
McDonald's.
So what I'd
All
like
right,
to talk
let's do this. Actually, I'd like to move to the issue of cost. Okay, I think it's an important issue because Raphael's point here, and I mean, we can all agree with this. Actually, the cool thing about this conversation is that there is bipartisan agreement on the issue of securing our borders. I think that the question of how we do it is where people are having problems.
The larger issue here is the federalism issue, that if you have states enacting all of these laws, you get a patchwork of laws, none of them match up.
Right.
And this is barring federal action. What the solution is some sort of federal action, comprehensive immigration reform. And if there was such a thing, that would preempt this Arizona law and these patchworks of laws from, I mean, you can go back to Gibbons versus Ogden and the issue of preemption. But the federal government has to act.
Right.
And they are dragging their heels on this. And
Why? Why
And
are
there
they
are no
dragging
the one-
their
Republicans
successful
supporting
thing out of
any
this-
plan. There are no Republicans supporting
Okay.
any kind of plan in Congress right now for
It's an
immigration
election
reform.
year.
See, that's
I mean,
Not
the
even-
one
no-
good thing
no,
out
no.
of this is it will force the federal government to act. Arizona
Yeah.
has pushed
I
the
doubt
federal
it's gonna
The
happen.
government.
Republican Party has not presented
President
a
Obama's not gonna
single
pass anything.
immigration proposal.
not up to him to pass it. It's
Since
Congress.
Jim
He
Simpson
only
ran
signs
in
it.
2005.
Okay, let him respond. Go ahead.
As it's been said by Monty here, my friend Ronald Reagan was the one Republican that pushed amnesty.
Okay.
Our prior president, President Bush, a Republican, is the one that pushed comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah.
2007.
I think what we should realize
But his
is
party
that
didn't support him.
there are
Right,
many,
exactly.
Yeah.
His party didn't
But go
support
ahead.
No, there are plenty of
And McCain
Democrats.
is going
Yeah, but
back
let him finish.
There are
Let him
plenty of
finish.
Democrats that don't support comprehensive immigration
Right,
reform.
that's
And instead of making this a Republican-Democrat bill, if I can use an example, Luis Gutierrez, our fine congressman from the
Yes.
state of Illinois, that's a totally pro-amnesty, pro-open borders kind of congressman.